I'm Christian Roessler, an economics professor at Cal State East Bay. The purpose of this video is to talk about the career options and benefits that you get with an economics major. We call the economics major the major for decision makers. And that's because economists often go into leadership roles in a variety of sectors. For example, entrepreneurship. On the left, we see some prominent econ majors who became entrepreneurs of various kinds. Elon Musk, of course, well-known tech founder from Tesla and SpaceX. Arianna Huffington started the Huffington Post, a media outlet. Sadie Alexander was one of the first Black American women to earn a PhD in economics. That was in 1921, the first year for any Black American woman to earn a PhD. For example, business executives, Steve Ballmer of Microsoft, Meg Whitman of eBay, and then Hewlett-Packard. Those are examples of economics majors who became CEOs. And as we'll see later on, this is quite common. And then Warren Buffett, of course, is a famous investor. He's also an economics major. Economics majors also become social leaders. Jesse Jackson, famous civil rights activist. Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize for creating micro-lending institutions that served initially poor communities in Bangladesh. Sandra Day O'Connor was the first female US Supreme Court judge. And of course, economics majors become policymakers. And you find them on both sides of the political spectrum, such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the congresswoman, and Ronald Reagan, the former US president. You find them at the world stage. Kofi Annan, the former UN Secretary General, is a case in point. And then you find them in important policymaking institutions. And Janet Yellen was a recent chair of the Federal Reserve Bank, all of them economics majors. In the movie Glengarry Glen Ross, Alec Baldwin's character proclaims, "Coffee is for closers." And we might say econ is for deciders. And why is that? Economists have analytical skills that make them sophisticated, information-savvy decision makers. They can accurately interpret and perform statistical analysis. Some of the skills you learn are programming, econometrics, which is the application of empirical methods to economics, and of course, recently, AI tools. Economists are able to reason through complicated real-world situations in a structured, logical way. They do this by using the tools that you learn in your micro and macroeconomics courses or in methods courses like game theory. In your economics major, you will learn everything about making optimal choices. And you will learn about the predictive content of equilibrium. How a complex system with many actors, perhaps over a period of time, will settle. With these skills, economists are prepared for many different types of careers, including in administration, where they might become CEOs, CFOs, not-for-profit leaders. They might work in the local, state, or federal government, and they might, for example, work in healthcare administration. Economists go into finance, corporate finance teams. They might become budget analysts, program managers. Those titles are used in public settings. They might work in banking and, of course, in investments such as venture capital. Economists also go into quantitative roles in marketing, where they might be data specialists performing customer analysis or sales forecasts, and they might become product managers given their expertise in analyzing demand and setting prices. Many economists give professional advice in consulting roles, or they might conduct policy research, for example, in government departments like the Fed, like the Department of Justice that handles antitrust policy, or the Environmental Protection Agency, or in international organizations such as the IMF or the World Bank or the United Nations. And then finally, economists are sought after by graduate programs, and not only in economics and in business, as you might expect, but economists are also well prepared to go into law. They tend to do well on the LSAT, which requires similar analytical skills to an economics major. And they might go into public policy programs or pursue more career-oriented degrees like the MBA. Economists are fact-oriented, so let's look at some numbers regarding the economics major. Of all the US presidents in the last 50 years, half had an economics major in their background. And no other field graduated more than one US president in the last 50 years. Economics is the second most common major among the CEOs of Fortune 500 companies after engineering. And of course, we live in a time when tech founders are often engineers, and these companies can grow quickly, so they might make it into the Fortune 500 while that founder is still the CEO, but they tend to get replaced over time, and they often get replaced with economists. Those are data about economics majors in general in the United States. But what about Cal State East Bay graduates specifically? Well, when we look 15 years into the future, economics graduates have the fourth highest salaries among Cal State East Bay majors at a little over $120,000. This puts economists in between various science fields, as you can see here, but well ahead of business administration, for example. And it's interesting to look at the pattern over time. So here we see for all CSU East Bay majors, for economics majors in the middle, and then also for the BSBA, which is the Bachelor of Science in Business Administration, what the average pay looks like after 2 years, so pretty much right out of the gate after graduation, and then after 5 years, after getting a little bit of experience, and then after 15 years when you're in the middle of your career. So economists always do better than all majors taken together, so then the average Cal State East Bay graduate. They do a little worse coming right out of their degree than business majors, and that's largely driven by fields like accounting that have very directly applicable skills. But look what happens as we continue down the career path. After 5 years, economists actually pull ahead of the average business degree holder. And after 15 years, the difference is quite substantial. So it's 122,000 and a little compared to 103,000. That's a 20% difference after 15 years. So the trajectory in career earnings of economics majors is very good. And that's because the skills that economists excel in become more valuable as you progress through your career toward roles that involve more decision-making. So what does the economics major look like at Cal State East Bay? We're not going to go through every single course here. We'll just highlight that in general, the way the degree is built up is it gives you the analytical foundations that economists need, and then it gives you opportunities to learn to apply them. So we have a lower division core that involves the introductory economics courses and some methods courses. And then we have the upper division core where you get into more advanced economic theory, but also into applications to business and strategy, and into more advanced empirical methods. And in the electives, you'll get to apply your skills. The economics major has the added advantage that it's a relatively small degree that leaves you enough room to pursue a complementary minor degree. For example, in business, for example, in computer or data science, statistics, and any of these other degrees that are listed here on the right. So it's a very flexible major that allows you to make up your mind as you go what it is that you ultimately want to focus on, where you will ultimately see your career. Technology is foremost on our minds when we think about future careers. And naturally, you'll wonder, how does the economics degree prepare me for that changing world? Well, one interesting thing to note is that the various types of technological waves that we've seen, so big data analytics, machine learning and AI, and also crypto, all of them actually use tools that are very familiar to economists, that are very integral to the economics field. And therefore, economists are very well equipped to make a mark in these areas. In particular, machine learning and AI build on optimization and prediction methods that you would learn in econometrics. Let's take a look at the image on the right, which is an AI rendering for the prompt, a student majoring in economics. We see a few things that we expect, some graphs in the background. Economists work with information and statistics. We see a professionally presented young woman, but we also see text that doesn't make any sense, that looks perhaps faintly reminiscent of economics, economic-y types of words, but it's gibberish, right? And so you might wonder why. Why does the AI give us nonsensical text? And that's because AI, built for various purposes, optimizes for different things. So in this case, when we're rendering an image, AI predicts pixels, and it's predicting them in a way that isn't optimized to produce legible text. And that's the kind of thing you will become very familiar with in your economics major, because you will understand optimization, you will understand it in the context of empirical prediction. And in fact, you'll learn a lot about how artificial intelligence works and how it should and how it should not be applied. And most importantly, the economics degree is not geared to any specific technology. Technology always changes, and what you want are transferable technology skills that are going to still enable you to work with the next technology that's coming. And that's what economists are so particularly good at, and what they are well rewarded for. Hopefully, this piques your interest in an economics major.